Everyone put their
Good?
phones
Alright.
on sound.
Okay, so
Audio.
tonight's class I am doing in the honor of my wife's grandfather. It should be an aliyah of the neshama for Ezra Ben Vald. I was thinking about which Torah to pick for tonight because we're starting a new Torah, so it was good timing. So for all the new guys, you're not catching up, you're right in the beginning. So I wanted to do something that was very essential to Rebbe Nachman's Torah, something that we haven't spent a lot of time talking about, and also I want to do something that I connected to my wife's family. Growing up in secular culture, they teach you very much to be sophisticated. To be not just be sophisticated, meaning to try and be intellectually stimulated in X, Y, and Z, but to be sophisticated even subtly in your thought process. That your goals should be sophisticated, that your thoughts should be sophisticated, and that this sophistication is the highest level of living. However, Rebbe Nachman, he teaches the opposite of this. He says the goal to a good life, and most importantly, the way to connect to HaShem, is actually the opposite, is to be simple, is to have tamimut, to have simplicity, and to have, what's the word? Innocence. To have simplicity and innocence. Where's his proof for this, that sophistication is not good? And if you look at Rebbe Nachman's stories, he speaks a lot about this. He probably talks more than any other rabbi about the dangers of sophistication, and he suggested to his students that they shouldn't even read philosophical works because of the dangers of thinking sophisticatedly. And the answer is the very first time that they speak about the Nachash, who is the all-embodying quality of the Yetzer Hara, of evil, of something that conceals godliness in the world. And what is the first thing that they say about the Nachash? That he's sophisticated. Yeah. The very first thing they say is that he's sophisticated, that he's clever. And therefore, what is the Torah teaching us? That this is, so to speak, the number one concealing quality, yeah, which gets in the way in your connection with Hashem. And for me, growing up secular, this was very, very difficult for me to connect to, because by nature I thought very sophisticatedly, very, very, very sophisticated. I would think and think and think and ruminate until I found answers to questions. I have trouble sleeping at night because I'm constantly thinking and trying to figure out situations in my life. And where does all this sophistication stem from? The basic belief that you run your life, which according to the Torah is a sheker, it's a big lie. And therefore, sophistication comes from this lie that you run your own life. When is a person able to be simple and able to live a simple life, to think simply? Now, we need to understand, what does simple mean? When you first read Rebbe Nachman's Torah, you might think he's suggesting that you're stupid, that you live ignorantly, and that's not what he's saying. He says there's three things that are great mitzvot. One of them is to be happy all the time. This is the one that almost everybody knows. Another one is that to anything that you can understand, to whatever degree that you can, know it as well as you can. He said this is also a mitzvah gedolah. So you see here that he does not suggest ignorance. He wants you very much to be intelligent, but that your whole basis for reality should be simple, meaning Hashem runs my life, I don't run my life, and therefore if I want to connect to Hashem, I need to accept what Hashem is doing to me without sophistication and try to connect to Him this way. You're going to see how in this Torah it comes up. Even the very first Torah that Rebbe Nachman teaches in Likutey Moharan, the very first pasuk in Tehillim that David HaMelech brings is Ashrei Tamimei Derech Achochim B'Torat Hashem. Happy is the person whose way is simple, that he walks in the Torah of Hashem. And Rebbe Nachman proves there that the only way to even connect to the Torah is to be simple. So now we need to understand, why is simplicity the gateway to God? Why should simplicity be the only way that I can connect to Hashem? And the answer is surprising. According to the Zohar, what is a description of God, of Hashem? What is one that we can say, even though everything is limiting to whatever degree that we can? And the answer is that Hashem is simple. His thoughts are simple. His way is simple. So what does it mean that Hashem is simple? And the answer is, He's one. Because Hashem is one, Echad, So there's no room for sophistication. When does sophistication come into play? Only when there's a diversity of opinions, a diversity of information, a diversity of life. In this case, when things are separate, then you can have sophisticated thinking. But for HaShem, that we learned, Rebbe Nachman taught us something unbelievable, which is kind of hard to grasp, that HaShem thinks every thought in one thought. So if HaShem thinks every single thought in one thought, so that's one. So therefore, we learn, how do you connect to Hashem? By being like Hashem. And how do you be like Hashem? By being simple. The Torah teaches that God is simple, but we are sophisticated. Now, we're not by nature sophisticated, meaning our soul is not sophisticated, but we've been taught to be sophisticated. So now we're going to see, this is Torah 12 in Tinyana, which is the second part of Likutey Moharan. We haven't spent a lot of time doing the Torahs in this section, but I feel like this very much connects. And when I married my wife, her family has this quality of tamimut. In general, I don't want to sound ignorant or racist, but I find that the Yemenites in general, they have this quality of simplicity that's very beautiful. And because of this, whether they're religious or not religious, they all seemingly connect to Hashem and believe in God. Now, why is that? And I think the real reason is because they're simple. And so because they're simple, they're always tapping into God, because God is simple. So now we're going to see the way that Rebbe Nachman begins this Torah. By the way, this is one of the biggest Torahs in all of Breslov. They, Chazarah, they review this Torah all the time. And there's a few special Torahs that they have names. They wrote a whole book just about this Torah. It's called Eya. Where's Hashem? Okay? So it starts like this. When a person follows his own intellect, his own cleverness, he can fall into many mistakes and pitfalls. And at the worst, he can come to great, great evil. Meaning, he can literally bring himself to the most depraved, least humane aspect of reality. Where do we see this? All of the villains of history. What did they all think? They all thought, based on their conception of reality that was true, that if we followed that all the way, we would have peace in the world. We would have joy in the world. Communism, capitalism, Adolf Hitler, right? Karl Marx. All of these people had great ideas that led to almost the death of humanity. Now, why is it that human understanding can bring such destruction, whereas God's understanding can only bring peace? And the answer is that as long as your concept of reality is not God's, and Hashem is a synonym for life, so automatically if you're not holding by Hashem's concept of reality, you're bringing death into the world. And that's why it says Torah is Ma'im Chaim. It's the water of life. Eitz Chaim. It's the tree of life. It brings life. He says, Chas v'shalom, that you come to this place, that you think so sophisticatedly. V'yesh shikalu laharbeh, like those who have caused tremendous damage. Kagon harashayim gedolim, like the very evil men, who are very famous, that we know them. Shitu et haolam, that they led the whole world astray, and now we're still picking up the pieces. All on account of their cleverness and their intellect. Now, while Rebbe Nachman is speaking specifically about people who are mamish evil, I would say that what's more relevant to our life is just basic sophisticated thinking throughout your day, and how much it affects you in a negative way. You get into a fight with your wife. How are you internalizing what just happened? Are you thinking to yourself, oh, my wife is crazy, I made a mistake, maybe she's not the one for me? And then you move into a whole realm which can literally bring you to depression within days. All coming from what? It's a lack of simple understanding and belief that Hashem runs the world. At some level there is a belief that I can do something that's not in the realm of Hashgacha Pratit. that Hashem can allow me to do something which doesn't move in the current in the direction that He wants to bring us. So what would Rebbe Nachman teach you? To be simple. You had an issue with your wife. Okay, so then Hashem caused that issue for you to have with your wife. Now, if that's the case, then what does Hashem want me to learn from it? So we're going to learn how do we tap into Hashem in these situations. But what you shouldn't do, Rebbe Nachman says, is to begin on a whole quandary of questions which can lead you to the ultimate depths of darkness, which I spend my whole life doing. I told you guys many times that I have a long history of mental health issues with depression. And the main reason I attribute to my depressive episodes is my sophisticated thinking. Simply believing that I control my reality and trying to figure out ways to make my life better. This, I believe, is the greatest cause of sadness. He goes on and he says like this, V'ikar hayahudut. What is the essence of Judaism? Some people say it's the Torah. Some people say it's tefillah. Some people say it's spiritual elevation, kumbaya, thankfulness, gratitude. Rebbe Nachman says here, the essence of Judaism, hu rak, is only lelech b'tamimut uviv shitut, is only to become as simple as possible. The essence of Judaism, of the Torah, of connecting to God, is to be as simple and innocent as possible, like a baby. B'li shum hochmot, with none of your own wisdom whatsoever. Uhistakel b'chol davar she'oseh. A person has to, what is his goal? By being as simple, to find Hashem in everything. He said that this is the key to finding Hashem in everything in your life, is by turning off your own ideas and allowing yourself to connect to God. Sheyeh sham Hashem yiparach, because Hashem is always there. V'liv li lahashkiach klal al kavod atzmo. Therefore, a person in every situation, he should only be concerning himself with, how can I reveal God more in the world right now? How can I reveal Hashem more in my own life right now? Oh, you can bring it over here. So therefore, Rav Nachman says, Rak im yesh bazeh kavod Hashem yiparach yaseh. Only if a person believes at this moment that whatever is going on is going to reveal God more to himself at that moment, he should follow through with it. The im lav, and if it's not, and if it's going to serve to conceal Hashem in his life, in his family's life, in the life of others, right? And then what he calls kavod. So we have this term in the Torah. Many of the terms in the Torah which sound archaic, which sound ancient, and we don't know how to connect to them. One of them is kavod, Hashem's glory. What does that mean, Hashem's glory? What is glory? We want to show Hashem's glory. So kavod is a code word for the Shekhinah, meaning whenever Hashem's presence is imminent, meaning you're able to experience God at this very moment. So that means that His kavod, His glory, is being revealed. That's why it said that when Moshe and Aaron were at the Ohel Moed, they said that the kavod of Hashem was shining from there, meaning the Shekhinah was shining from there. So therefore, whatever allows the Shekhinah to shine, keep it there. And whatever doesn't, remove it. What's something that we know causes the Shekhinah to go into exile? One of those things is arrogance. As soon as a person is arrogant, so he comes and the presence of Hashem leaves automatically. Why is that? And the answer is because arrogance comes from a lack of simplicity. Okay? Listen to what I just said again, because it's not obvious. Where does arrogance come from? A lack of simplicity. I had a situation, over the course of the past few years, I've had a crash course in how to become simple through Rebbe Nachman's Torah. And I had like a huge bombshell hit me when I was hearing a Torah from my Rebbe, from Rav Walken, and I told you guys this before a couple times, but it's worth saying now, it connects to the Torah. When Rabbi Akiva and his cohorts were being flayed alive 2,000 years ago, flayed, like steak, the Malachim said to Hashem, which they don't normally do, they questioned what was going on. And they said, Hashem, this is the reward for people who do what you want. Rabbi Akiva and all of his students, that they gave up everything in their life to do your will, to do your ratzon, and to reveal you in the world, and now the Romans are flaying them alive. How is this the reward for someone who does what you tell them to do? Even the Malachim couldn't understand and were disturbed by this. And Hashem said in response, shh, be quiet. The simple understanding of this is that Hashem was annoyed by them. But we know that Hashem is not like a little boy, and therefore he's not getting annoyed easily. He's slow to anger, he's patient. So what did shh mean? So my rabbi explained, he said, shh, I'm going to start the whole world over again, and we're going to start at the very beginning. And I'm going to take you with me from the very first step of Bereshit Bar Elokim, when I create the universe, and I'm going to take you to every single step until Rabbi Akiva lived with his cohorts, and only then are you going to be able to see how this is good. And until then, you need to be quiet. Now, where is this concept of needing to know? I remember after I heard this, I went into my car and I started crying because I realized that I'm reading all this Torah about Rav Nachman, about how you need to be simple, not to be sophisticated, and I had like an epiphany, and I realized that all of my thinking is very sophisticated. And I said to myself while I was sitting in my car, why do I feel like I should know, that I have to know, that I have to understand everything? Who says that I should know? Who says I should understand? Who told me that I should be able to understand all of the events in my life? Nobody. Where does it come from? It comes from arrogance. I never would be able to chop this on my own, but that's the truth. And when I realized that, so why is it that I constantly feel Hashem hidden from me? It's because my thinking is sophisticated and I feel like I need to understand. And where is that coming from? It's coming from gava, it's coming from arrogance, which is the opposite of being simple, which is to be humble. He says, if a person is simple, then no matter what he does, he's never going to stumble permanently. He says here he's never going to stumble. You're going to see later on, he's going to say you can fall, but the falling itself is always going to be for the sake of an ascent. He says, "V'afilu kishenofel," that even if you do fall, but you're simple, chas v'shalom, l'sveikot, meaning you're falling into doubts, which we all do, v'yesh niflato gedola ma'od ma'od, and you come to this very great fall that you have very serious doubts in your life, your relationship with your children, with your wife, with your family, with yourself. You have certain very serious situations, health issues, X, Y, and Z, and you start to come to doubts, to very serious doubts about your life and about Hashem. Rachmana litzlan, that Hashem should save us from this. But let's say it happens, and you start to have doubts and confusions, and you even come to maybe question, is God good? Is this really good? Which we've all had. Afal piken, even though that this is a falling, and this is a very central concept in the teachings of the Baal Shem Tov and Rav Nachman, he says the nafila v'ayarida hi tachlit ha'aliyah. Every single fall is for the sake of an aliyah.
That's the only reason why people fall?
So when you're simple.
And if you're not, then it wasn't because of that?
So if not, then the fall is of your own devices. But if you're simple and you fall, it's because Hashem wants you to fall. Okay? So therefore, when you're simple and you still fall to doubts, so you did your part. You did your hishtadlut. I'm doing the best I can to connect to Hashem. I'm learning that's through simplicity, and I'm still coming to doubts. So what should I know at that moment? That suffering that I'm experiencing through those doubts is actually because Hashem wants to bring me to a higher level. Every single fall is for the sake of going higher. I explained to you guys in the past something unbelievable I heard. When you think of your life, you think of it like this. Specifically people in our generation, we have no yeshuv da'at, we have no settling of the mind. We constantly feel like we're on a roller coaster. But spiritually, we learn that actually we're like spiraling up. And therefore, even when we come down, it's still higher than we were up before. So I want to explain why that is.
Wow. Down is also really enough.
According to Kabbalah, every single level is comprised of 10 levels. They go from Malchut to Keter. Therefore, when you move up a level, right? And you attain, let's say, a new revelation of God. You get closer to Hashem. You have a new perception in your life, a new understanding that makes you feel close to Hashem. So to speak, you have scrapped this level, and now you need to move up to the next level. And the next level, again, you're confronted by Malchut. So therefore, every single time that you move up, you're always facing Malchut. And who is Malchut? She is the beautiful woman with no eyes. In the Zohar, they call her the beautiful maiden with no eyes. Meaning what? The only way to access God at the level of Malchut is to completely remove your own understanding of reality. That means that every single time that you move to the next level of trying to come close to Hashem, you have to be so simple as to completely remove your own da'at so that you can receive Hashem's. Because what happens when you have a cup? Let's say you have a cup. So through this whole process, all right, through this whole process of getting, let's say, a new understanding in your life, you're filling up your cup. But as soon as you're going to move now to a higher level of spirituality, you cannot move to the next level before you empty your cup. So what is the emptying of the cup? It's the emptying of your own conception of reality. And that's why life is hard.
It's the bittul part?
Yes, it's self-nullification. So that means that every step of your life, you constantly have to nullify yourself after you gain an understanding, and that's the only way to move on to the next understanding. And the whole reason that we suffer tremendously in our life is because we resist closing our eyes, because we're scared, because we lack faith. And therefore we're never able to move to the next level. Rebbe Nachman says, how deep is this idea that you have to empty your cup before you move to the next level? He says that to make sure that you're constantly emptying your cup, you should be telling your friends your insights. Because every single time you tell your friend an insight in life, you're emptying your cup from your mind, it's going into his, and then, so to speak, you have a new cup. You like that?
Cup.
A new cup. You have a new cup. Cup. Yeah.
How do you know like the cup is empty?
How do you know when the cup is empty?
Like
When your life brings you a challenge and you have trouble accepting it. So when you have a difficulty in your life and you have trouble with your level of understanding of accepting it, that means you're actually moving to the next level. Many people think when they experience difficulties in their life, in their relationships, X, Y, and Z, it's because they're going down. I lost it. Oh, I was on fire, but now I'm losing it. You're not losing it. You're actually moving to the next level, which now you have to confront the fierce woman known as Malchut. And the only way to experience her and to move beyond her, it's like a board in a video game. The only way to experience Mrs. Malchut and to go beyond her is to close your eyes and to accept the reality.
How would you translate Malchut?
Malchut means Hashem's providence. That Hashem, kingship. But what is kingship? When we say that Hashem is Melech HaOlam, what are we trying to convey with that? He's king of the world. Well, okay, what does that mean? He's sitting in a chair. It means that he's the one who's making and creating and governing everything in reality. And therefore, the only way to get to the next level is to first accept that notion again and again and again. And you need to constantly go back to accepting that notion that Hashem is running my life only before you can move on to the next.
Is that why we close our eyes and Baruch Shem?
It's exactly why we close our eyes when we say Shema Yisrael. Because it's at that very moment that we're supposed to be obtaining a new level of connection to Hashem. And the only way to do that is to first close our eyes. Very good. Yeah.
Is it the same analogy as whenever you're going through downfall?
That's exactly what we're
That's
saying.
what it is?
Yes. But I'm trying to explain what's the dynamics of that. Meaning, why does that work? Why is it that when we fall, it's for the sake of going higher? So I'm explaining that in reality, the fall is not necessarily a fall. It's just that your life now you don't understand. That's called the fall. But once you accept what's happening to you as from Hashem, that's the beginning of now understanding.
Yeah, but if a person has da'at, then that fall is not really a fall.
But your da'at continually grows. So you're going to have to continually gain new da'at. How do you get the next level of da'at?
Breaking.
It's through the breaking. And then you have to accept. And even when he falls into doubts, right? He should know every descent is for the sake of an ascent. And he says, no, Kida, you should know. Ki shorish kol abriya hu hakavod. The whole world was created for Hashem's kavod, which we just said is the revelation of God. Ki kol ma shebara HaKadosh Baruch Hu lo bara'o ela lichvodo. That Hashem only created the whole world to reveal Himself to something else. He only created you so that He can reveal Himself to you and have a relationship with you. This is the only chidush of the world. There's nothing else that this world offers Him except a relationship. So He wants to reveal Himself to you. What's the issue? You're coming with your cup, and even if you're the smartest person in the world, your cup is not Hashem's cup. So the only way you can connect to Hashem is that you're constantly emptying your own, and then through that Hashem is able to make your cup bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. That's why it says, everything that is called by my name, for my glory have I created it. Meaning the whole reason I created you is so that you can reveal me in the world. And since everything has been created for that sake, it follows that that kavod is the root of creation. Meaning, why is it the root? Because that's the whole reason for the creation. Why were you created? Why were you created? Because each of us has a different kavod. Yeah, we each have a different role, and we have a different uniqueness. And where does that different uniqueness come from? Because we have a different portion in Hashem's kavod. So we need to reveal our unique kavod, and we do that by connecting to Hashem through simplicity. Now, although everything is one, right? Creation is nevertheless comprised of a myriads, trillions of parts, right? What did we say? That Hashem created the world from nothing, and He created something. It's called Yesh Me'ayin. He created somethingness from nothingness. And what do we say, Rebbe Nachman says is the goal? To take the somethingness and bring it back to nothingness.
It's nothing but Hashem.
Meaning to take ego and bring it to humility. The whole goal of the Torah is to teach us how to nullify yesh, ego, so that we can accept something bigger than ourselves. Because what's the problem with going only on your understanding? Why is it mamish so bad for you that you're sophisticating your thinking? Because you're creating a very limited reality for yourself. Because if everything is based on your own notion of reality, you're projecting whatever's going on inside of you all the time. And whatever's going on inside of you by nature has to be limited. So the only way to connect to something which is unlimited is to nullify that part of yourself. So we have to continue to do this. And this is the meaning of what it says, that with 10 utterances Hashem created the world. So they say in Pirkei Avot, couldn't He have done it with one? Why are you doing it in 10? There's many answers for this. But he says that one of the reasons is for the sake of schar and onesh. Meaning, if I create 10 utterances, that means that every time that you do the mitzvot, you're holding on all 10. So I get to give you more schar, more reward. Right? That I created the world, not to go against me, not to cheat on your wife, not to be jealous, all of these things. So every single time that you hold by them, you're holding by all 10 and you get more schar. And obviously the opposite. There's more consequence if not. This is the simple answer they give in Pirkei Avot. But the real truth is that all of these 10 are bound up in the first. And this is what we're going to focus on now. We talk about at the end of time, in the times of Mashiach, there's a Tehillim, which is 29, which we say every Shabbat. That everything comes to the sanctuary of Hashem, and they all say, Kavod. Meaning what? That every Jew and every part of creation is coming to one place, Eretz Yisrael, and we're all saying our aspect of kavod, meaning our specific, unique aspect of godliness that we are revealing in the world. We're all coming to one place, and we're all revealing it together. And through this, we have all of the unity of God. And this is the unbelievable chidush of Mashiach, that throughout all the duality of the world, that everything is separate, it's really all one. And this is what the Torah is trying to teach. And this is why we close our eyes when we say Shema, that everything is one. Because if you look at the world, you're not going to see unity. You're going to see separation. And what we want to do is we want to bring unity into the separation. We want to bring spiritual into the physical. And this is what it means that the whole world is created. It's all filled with His glory, meaning Hashem really is everywhere. But now we have a question. If we're going to say Hashem is everywhere, which is one of the big, beautiful chidushim of Chassidut, Hashem is everywhere. You're going to have a question on that. What's the question you're going to have on that? So when a guy goes to a strip club, is God there?
Yes.
When a guy's smoking a blunt in his apartment,
he's not there. Meaning the guy's not there.
is God there? Hashem's there? When all of these things that the Torah says is Asur, is Hashem there?
Yes.
Okay.
Because it has to exist.
So 1 second. So he says something interesting, and you're going to see this is a paradox, but just try and stay with me, okay? He says when it comes to very bad things, transgressions, evil things, God forbid, Rav Nachman says that his kavod is not there.
Thank God.
Yo, he was about to say everything. Yeah, he was about to get up and leave.
But you have an issue with this, because if Hashem's kavod is not there,
Then how can it
so how
exist?
does it exist? Because we learn according to Chassidut that nothing can exist unless Hashem's life force is giving it existence at that very moment. And we learned in a prior Torah something that directly contradicts this. A stira. What's the stira? Rav Nachman says
Sometimes you give
that
it to
every
people.
single time that a person is doing an Avera, who's the one who's giving you the power to do this? It's Hashem. So Hashem must be there. So we're going to see now that the level of kavod is the lowest level of the revelation of God. But there's a higher level, and Hashem is there with that. So this is very interesting. The lowest level of God is hidden. It's not in the place that the person's doing the Avera. But the highest level is there. You're going to see in a second. This is what it means. I will not give my glory to another, like he says in Yeshaya. Meaning my kavod is not going to be in those places. For kavod has a limit beyond which it's not going to spread. Right? But no, he says, despite this, they too receive life force from Hashem. So how does that make sense? It's a contradiction. Yeah, even these filthy places mamish avodah zarah, you go into a church, is God there? So his kavod is not there, but Hashem has to be there to some extent. However, where are they getting it from? So the Midrash says that there's 10 sayings of creation. However, we know that it only says that Hashem said Elokim Omer 9 times. So what's the first? What's the 10th saying? And they said Bereshit bar Elokim. But that's not a saying. And they say that these 9 sayings are explicit. They are revealed sayings. But the first saying, which came before the 9 sayings, is a hidden saying. Bereshit bar Elokim, that's also a saying. Hashem also said that, but it's hidden. So therefore, right.
Wow.
So,
Meaning that kavod versus the 9 on below.
yeah, so the 9
is
below,
hidden.
which are revealed, they can't be in the strip club. But Hashem has to be there. So what is there? Bereshit bar Elokim. The highest level of godliness, which is completely hidden from us because it's way higher than for us to fathom, that part is there. Now what's the big lesson for us then? That means that besides that when you are struggling and you are suffering in your life and you're mamish in the depths of depression and darkness, Hashem, the highest aspect of Hashem is with you in that place. Where does this all come from? So I want to tell you something very amazing. Not to get too Kabbalistic, but I saw this and it made me think about something which made me very emotional this morning. When Hashem created the 10 Sfirot, right, we know that there's something called Sfirot HaKelim. This is the breaking of the vessels. This is a very fundamental concept in Kabbalah, which is that before Hashem created the world, He created these vessels which would create the world, but those vessels broke. He made them to break. And those vessels